Rainer, thank you so much. Again, welcome to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're on Triathlete.com, and we're here, the 12th Annual Challenge Roth. My guest, the defending champion. I guess it's hard to sort of subtly walk through town when you're on the cover of the paper. It changes things a little bit. Mr. James Cunnama. Hopefully I got that. Cunnama. So like Panama with a C.
Something like that. Along
So-
the lines.
So, James, you wake up yesterday morning and, oh, my God,
Yeah.
you're on the cover. It's not like you can sort of be incognito this year at being defending champion.
No, definitely not. Everyone knows my name now. Last year
Except
was
for me.
Something
Except for me
like
trying
that.
to pronounce it.
Yeah, everyone. Last year was an amazing race for me. It was a great experience, and it does obviously put a bit more pressure on this year.
Yeah.
People know my name. The Germans get behind triathlon like nowhere else in the world, and they know me now, which is really good, but
Yeah.
it adds pressure.
Well, and the other side of that is really if you think about pressure here, I was talking to Jürgen Zach, and the pressure is on the Germans to win this race. Macca used to love it at the press conference. Go say, I have no pressure on me. Norman and Ferris, this is your national championship.
That's exactly what I said yesterday. They asked me the same question. They said at the press conference, you're a defending champ. Is there a lot of pressure on you? And I thought, well, I've been looking at the German media, and to be honest, all the pressure's on Timo Brack. All of the pressure.
That was a great move, by the way.
He's got nothing to. He can't. He has to lose. He either wins or he's lost.
Exactly.
They're,
Second place.
It's just not good enough for the Germans because
No,
he did that last year already.
Jürgen was saying when he finished second in Kona, he was the second German, which meant over here he was the first loser.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. That the amount of fans and the amount of passion they had for triathlon. It's great when you're winning, but it's a lot of pressure when you're not.
Exactly. But the other side of that is if you came here and people weren't talking about you, I mean, your goal is to be doing media like this because it means you're successful.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's a great thing here in Germany, in Roth in particular. The whole community is behind the triathlon.
Yeah.
They take an interest in who's racing, what they've done in the past, who these people are. You become the celebrity status that you don't get in the rest of the world, really, in triathlon. Triathlon's very not mainstream.
Exactly.
And here it really feels like it is mainstream. Everyone's interested. Everyone's part of it, and it's a great feeling.
As somebody who's raced around the world now, try to explain to people how crazy it is on the course spectator-wise. Because if you're doing Kona, there's a pocket in town and there's a pocket at Hawi, but you've got every once in a while there's one person. Here, it seems like it's more Tour de France-like where there's people everywhere.
Absolutely. Tour de France-like is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
The amount of support out there is unrivaled anywhere in the world. And like you say, I've been a lot of places in the world, and even on lap courses out, where they see you 4 times on the run if it's a 10K run.
Yeah.
They don't get the crowd's depth that they get here, where they only see you run past once. It's really incredible. And the bike, the Solaraberg Hill, is incredible. I've been speaking to some of the other pros who haven't been here before, and I was telling them that you've got to really hold back because you go into that tunnel of noise and you come out the top and your heart rate's 20 beats higher and your legs are shaking because you're like, whoa, I just pushed that hard. I got to slow down. I got another 130 Ks to ride.
That is wild.
So you really got to control yourself. It's that exciting, and having that halfway through the race on the bike, and a couple of the towns on the run is much the same. The last 2 Ks of the run where you come through Roth itself is incredible. The depth of noise and the spectators is just incredible. It's one of the most amazing experiences.
So last year, where were you at off the bike?
Last year, Timo, myself, and a couple of other guys got off the bike together.
Pretty much together.
We were 9 minutes down on Konstantin Bachor, another German who put it out there on the bike.
Totally.
We actually in the beginning of the bike, he went off, and Timo and I kind of looked at each other and were like, he's going too hard. And he was like, I was like, he's going too hard. He's like, yes. I'm like, you agree? Yeah, okay. We'll let him go. And he had 9 minutes by the time we got off the bike.
Well, that's a little scary. So
yeah.
9 minutes is a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I was still worried, and we started running fairly hard. Timo and I ran stride for stride for the first 18 Ks.
And that, I mean, towards the end of a race, that's a little disarming, but
yeah,
early in a race, you need that.
Absolutely. It was great for both of us. Obviously, it might have even been better for me because he was translating all the Germans are shouting splits to how far Konstantin Bacher was up the road, and I had no idea what they're saying. I don't know a word of German, so I had no idea what they were saying, and he was translating them for me. You know, he's a great sportsman, and it's great sharing a race like that with him. He then had some stomach issues, and I put a couple of minutes into him and held that all the way through to the end. So it was a brilliant race for me.
240 off the bike. Did that, when you looked at that split later, did that surprise you?
Not really.
Yeah.
I trained for that. I was ready for that. It's a fast course. You know, it's ideal running conditions. You're running out one direction, turn around, back, out the other direction, turn around, come back, which
with
is
big crowds.
A lot easier than laps with big crowds. And you've got hard packed dirt for a lot of it next to the canal. It's not tar, it's not asphalt, so it's a bit softer, but less brutal on the quads towards the end of the marathon. So it's a fast course, and I was expecting something around there. I ran a couple of 243s before.
Yeah.
So I was happy with the 240, but not surprised.
So growing up in South Africa, it wasn't Conrad Stoltz, it wasn't triathlon guys, it was Comrades Marathon. That's what your parents were into.
It was indeed, yeah. I grew up in Pietermaritzburg, and Comrades was it.
Yeah.
That was what everyone did. Comrades. Everyone ran and everyone did Comrades. It was. I mean, in 2000, I was just finishing school, and they had the biggest year ever there. I think they had 25,000 runners running the 56-mile Comrades Marathon. The mind boggles when you look at it in the grander scheme of things. But it was just normal for me growing up. Everyone did it.
Everybody ran it.
There was no question.
Yeah.
By the time I finished school, I was running half marathons. I was thinking about running marathons at the age of 17. You know, thinking, well, I've got to make the next step to get to Comrades. Thankfully, I then went to university and did a bit of track work and got my speed up. Also, still with the idea of going back to the long distance and running. And while I was there at university in Port Elizabeth, Ironman came to Port Elizabeth. I had the first Ironman there, and my running club actually got me to volunteer. I volunteered on the course, worked on the course the first year. The next year I was the course director, so I closed all the roads and got a first-hand view of the whole race. And the following year, 2007, I thought, you know what? It's got to be easier to race it than to organize it.
Organizing is a pain in the butt. Yeah,
no doubt. So I thought, well, it'll be a shorter day if not easier. So I'm going to try it. And 2007, I did my first Ironman.
How'd you do?
Got 21st, 9 hours 48.
Wow.
My first, still my slowest run, and I'm gonna hold on to that for as long as I can.
When you first ever won, what the hell?
Exactly. And 2008 went professional. 2009, end of 2008, signed with Team TVB and Brett Sutton, and the rest is history.
And what has Brett brought to the game for you?
Oh, everything. You know, when I started, I was in South Africa. I was coaching myself mostly. I was coaching triathletes at the same time with my sports science degree, but I was coaching myself, and I just didn't have the perspective. You know, I didn't even know who the names were in triathlon. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. What I was learning from books, and you can learn a lot from books. Don't get me wrong, but to have the input of a coach who can actually look at you for who you are instead of just a one-size-fits-all program made all the difference in the world. I mean, I started with him end of 2009, did a 3-week camp in the Philippines, which was a trial camp. He was checking me out to see whether I was any good. Few psychological tests in that camp for sure. I went back to another camp in the Philippines in the beginning of February, and in the middle of 2009, I had the breakthrough race of my career where I got second at Ironman Austria. I went from, my best position was 10th at Ironman South Africa, which was a pretty much not a result.
Small field, right, yeah.
To second at Ironman Austria to Marina van Hooneke.
Who's the world record holder.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the breakthrough. And then obviously the dreams grew from there. And that was, wow, I can really do this. I can really make it. And I went to Kona that year, got thoroughly whipped.
Yes.
And promised myself I wouldn't go back until I was ready to go back, and I haven't been back. So
now, I mean, obviously, the the win last year had to be another big moment in terms of your expectations for yourself, perceptions from sponsors. How did that change you, or how did that change the graph of your career winning here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been building year on year. I've had a few ups and a few downs, a few injuries and bike crashes, and as you do in a career. But it's been building year on year, and it's difficult because with all the ups and downs, it feels lots of times that you're not moving forward.
Right.
And I was really at one of those phases this time last year. I had a bad injury. I'd had surgery on my knee, and I'd been out for pretty much a year of no racing. And I was feeling underconfident. I was feeling like I'm not sure this is the right path for me. This injury might be a career-ending injury. You get all these things going through your head. It's a scary time. It's hard to describe to people. When your knee is what you make your living on.
Yes,
it's really hard to face the fact
like
that
it's
it's sore.
Splint or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It hurts.
So that was a really difficult time, and I came out of that time highly motivated when I came here, obviously, but also very unsure of where I was going, what I was doing.
If this was going to be your career path.
Exactly. I'd committed to it, and I'd done everything I could, and yet things still weren't going right, and that's obviously a frustrating time. So last year's race was absolutely set me on the path. It was all the validation for everything I'd put in for 4 years. It was all the sacrifices I'd made, the trips overseas, the money that I'd invested to become a pro and to be a pro and travel around the world. And last year was the validation for all of that. And that set me on the path. And now I'm able to step back and not worry about the money, not worry about whether I'm doing the right thing, and
you can focus on your training and racing.
Doing what I want to do, which is
obviously defend your title here on Sunday.
First, exactly.
Winning it once is great.
Well, yeah.
Our next guest has won this 5 times. Later. So, what does it mean to potentially win it a second time?
Obviously, to defend a title is always harder, than getting the title in the first place. Like we were saying, you come in with a target on your back from the gun. The guys are watching you. The guys are queuing off you, which puts a lot more pressure on. But with that pressure comes that much better feeling when you cross the line and win it again. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm feeling really fit. I'm feeling really strong. I keep saying to the guys, I feel fitter and stronger than I was last year.
Yes.
But no one wants to hear that from the defending champ.
They're thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. So the conditions look like they're going to be ideal for race day. Not too hot, not too cold, not too windy.
Yeah.
So we could be on for some fast times. Strong guys can push the pace. That'll make for some fast times. I think I'm up for it on the swim and the bike and the run.
Yep.
So if I'm up for it and the guys want to push the pace, we could be going for some really fast times, and hopefully I'll be the first one with the fastest time.
Appreciate that. Hey, James, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This is Breakfast with Bob. Again, our guest, the defending champion, James Cunnama. And before we head off, we need to bring in our man Rainer to take us out with a little accordion music. That is our man Rainer. This has been Breakfast with Bob.